Ukraine continued its own version of sanctions by successfully hitting Russia's main Central Asian gas pipeline. This puts not only Russia's influence in Asia under threat, but also stops the work of some of its most important military factories due to the lack of resources. In a bold escalation of its long-range strike campaign, Ukraine has struck one of the most critical arteries of Russia's gas infrastructure, the Central Asia Center pipeline. Explosions rocked the Volgograd region, knocking the pipeline out of service and forcing an indefinite shutdown. Euromaidan Press media outlet says this strategic attack, confirmed by Ukraine's main intelligence Directorate, not only disrupted the gas transit but also directly affected energy supplies to multiple key military-industrial facilities across Russia, dependent on energy plants that fully receive their gas from this pipeline. Among those impacted are the Demikovsky machine-building plant, MiG Aircraft Corporation, and the Magnum K ammunition factory, central players in Russia's war machine. Local emergency crews rushed to the site as Gazprom, the pipeline operator, initiated damage assessments and repairs, halting gas flow across the region. The Central Asia Center pipeline is a 4,000-kilometer-long linchpin in Russia's gas export network, designed to transport gas from Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan to Russia and vice versa. This pipeline is a geopolitical leverage as it enables Russia to exert influence over Central Asian energy while simultaneously channeling gas towards its own industrial needs. It is an important tool to keep the energy networks of Russia and the Central Asian countries interlinked and interdependent. With the Nord Stream pipelines now crippled by sabotage and geopolitical isolation, and the Power of Siberia pipeline to China bearing the full hope of Russia's Asian gas strategy, the Central Asia Center pipeline became an even more vital fallback. Euromaidan Press says, striking it isn't just symbolic but strategic, as Ukraine has targeted a highly vulnerable and deeply exposed piece of infrastructure. All Russian pipelines span vast, often remote terrain with limited protection, making them soft but critical targets. If Ukraine decides to repeat such attacks or target the Power of Siberia pipeline as well, the ramifications for Russia could be immense. Constant disruption of the lines due to the easy repetition of the strikes would undermine Russia's ability to pivot away from lost European markets, weaken its hold on Central Asian energy dependencies, and slash billions from its energy revenue. Euromaidan Press reports. Repeated strikes could also create logistical nightmares, reduce supply reliability, and destroy investor confidence, key levers in Russia's geopolitical influence. As a result, Moscow would be hard-pressed to maintain energy flows even for domestic needs, let alone sustain the illusion of dominance in the global energy market. With drones hitting Sochi, Ryazan, Samara, and now a strategic gas pipeline, Russia's rear is on fire, both literally and figuratively. A temporary air truce would give Moscow the breathing room it desperately needs to regroup and reinforce, but few in Ukraine are ready to fall for this trap.
Hungarian MP Ákos Hadházy published photos of Prime Minister Viktor Orban's unfinished estate with a palm garden and a private zoo. This caused outrage and scandal in Hungarian society. "Well, if this is a farm, then it's a very strange one," Hadházy wrote on his Facebook. In his description, the photographs show that a heating cable was installed under the park's paving so that, in the event of snowfall, the Prime Minister wouldn't have to clear it himself. Orban's estate is located in Hatvan-Puszta. According to the Prime Minister himself, it is his father's farm, which is not even finished, while the minister responsible for the Prime Minister's office, Gergely Gulyas, stated that it is an estate. The MP published photos taken 4 years ago by one of the workers. He later quit because he got disgusted working here. Since then, builders have had their phones confiscated and have been threatened, Hadhazy noted. The photos show a heating cable installed under the road surface of the park. This was done so that Orban and his family members would not have to clear fallen snow. The photos also show an underground corridor, lined with bricks, connecting the buildings. Over the weekend, Hadhazy even organized a tour of Hatvan Pusta. During the first of such visits, interested participants could peek into the carefully fenced-off territory from a staircase. Several thousand people joined the tour, all eager to see for themselves whether the independent MP was right, whether this was indeed an unfinished farm belonging to Orban's father or rather a Baroque-style chateau for Orban's son, complete with a library, promenade, chapel, palm garden, solar power plant, fountains, an underground garage, a pond, and a private zoo. Meanwhile, Hungarian media compared the atmosphere of Orban's residence to the Mezihirya residence during Viktor Yanukovych's presidency in Ukraine. It is reported that one woman encouraged her 5-year-old son to bypass at least a 2-kilometer line of cars, saying, "Let's go see the zebras." According to Hungarian media, there were so many exotic animals, zebras, buffaloes, and antelopes, on Orban's estate that it was difficult to drive them away. In addition, it is reported that builders, on Orban's orders, demolished classical architectural monuments in order to build the Prime Minister's residence in their place. Peter Magyar, leader of the opposition party TISA and Orban's main rival in the upcoming elections, has already promised that if he comes into power, the State Audit Office will launch an investigation into the assets of all former government members, officials, and their close relatives from the past 20 years. He asserted that the investigation will also cover Viktor Orban's estate in Hatvan Pusta. The National Asset Recovery and Protection Office will be able to request all information from permitting authorities and the Heritage Protection Office, as well as interview investors and workers employed at Viktor Orban's construction site, Magyar said.
The St. Petersburg Garrison Military Court sentenced the former head of the Armored Service of the Central Military District, Major General Denis Putilov, to 8.5 years in prison. He was found guilty of accepting a bribe on an especially large scale while fulfilling a state defense order. Part 6, Article 290 of the Criminal Code, the Investigative Committee reports. The 46-year-old serviceman will serve his sentence in a maximum security penal colony. He was stripped of his rank. The court also banned him from holding administrative positions in government agencies for 6 years after his release. According to the investigation, in 2023 to 2024, the Ministry of Defense concluded a number of contracts worth over 140 million rubles for the repair and maintenance of military equipment with individual entrepreneur Chudinov. Putilov supervised their execution. However, it was established that the general received a bribe of 1 million rubles from the entrepreneur for general patronage. As a result, the terms of the contract were not fulfilled. Thus, Putilov caused significant damage to the state. The military man's defense decided to appeal the verdict in the First Western District Military Court. Putilov's arrest became known in September 2024, about 4 months after Russian President Vladimir Putin awarded him the rank of Major General. He became at least the 8th high-ranking officer to be purged after the resignation of Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Prior to that, 2 of the latter's former deputies were arrested. Army generals Dmitry Bulgakov, damages of 1.3 billion rubles, and Pavel Popov, embezzlement at construction sites in Patriot Park, as well as the head of the main personnel directorate of the Defense Ministry, Lieutenant General Yuri Kuznetsov, bribe of 80 million rubles. In addition to them, Deputy Commander of the Leningrad Military District for Logistics, Major General Valery Muminzanov, and Deputy Chief of the General Staff, Lieutenant General Vadim Shamarin, who were arrested on charges of accepting bribes. In April 2025, the latter was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Pavel Popov's accomplice, former deputy head of the main Directorate for Innovative Development of the Ministry of Defense, Major General Vladimir Shesterov, was also sentenced to 6 years in prison. In addition, the former commander of the 58th Army, Major General Ivan Popov, was sentenced to 5 years, accused of stealing rolled metal purchased for the construction of fortifications in the direction of Zaporizhia.